by JIM VERTUNO, will WEISSERT and PAUL J. WEBERAssociated Press Sutherland Springs, Texas. The gunman who killed 26 people at a small-town Texas church had a history of domestic violence and sent threatening text messages to his mother-in-law, a member of First Baptist, before the attack, in which he fired at least 450 rounds at helpless worshippers, authorities said Monday. A day after the deadliest mass shooting in state history, the military acknowledged that it did not submit the shooter's criminal history to the FBI, as required by the Pentagon. If his past offenses had been properly shared, they would have prevented him from buying a gun. Investigators also revealed that sheriff's deputies had responded to a domestic violence call in 2014 at Devin Patrick Kelly's home involving a girlfriend who became his second wife. Later that year, he was formally ousted from the Air Force for a 2012 assault on his ex-wife in which he choked her and struck her son hard enough to fracture his skull. In the tiny town of Sutherland Springs, population 400, grieving townspeople were reeling from the losses. The dead ranged from 18 months to 77 years old and included multiple members of some families. "Our church was not comprised of members or parishioners. We were a very close family," said Sherry Pomeroy, the wife of the church pastor, who was out of town with her husband when the attack happened. "Now most of our church family is gone." The couple's 14-year-old daughter, Annabelle Pomeroy, was among those killed. Kelly's mother-in-law sometimes attended services there, but the sheriff said she was not at church on Sunday. The massacre appeared to stem from a domestic situation and was not racially or religiously motivated, Texas Department of Public Safety Regional Director Freeman Martin said. He did not elaborate. Based on evidence at the scene, investigators believe Kelly died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound after he was chased by bystanders, one of whom was armed, and crashed his car. The 26-year-old shooter also used his cell phone to tell his father he had been shot and did not think he would survive, authorities said. While in the military, Kelly served in logistics readiness at Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico from 2010 until his 2014 discharge, Air Force spokeswoman Ann Stefanek said. He was discharged for the assault involving his previous wife and her child and had served a year of confinement after a court-martial. Under Pentagon rules, information about convictions of military personnel for crimes such as assault should be submitted to the FBI's Criminal Justice Investigation Services Division. Air Force spokeswoman Ann Stefanek said the service is launching a review of its handling of the case and taking a comprehensive look at its databases to ensure other cases have been reported correctly. A few months before he received the bad conduct discharge, sheriff's deputies went to his home to check out the domestic violence complaint involving him and his then-girlfriend. People in the house said there was no problem, and no arrests were made. Kelly married the girlfriend 2 months later. Also in 2014, he was charged with misdemeanor animal cruelty in Colorado after a neighbor reported him for beating a dog. Kelly initially refused to speak with officers about the incident. He denied abusing the animal but complied with an order to pay almost $370 in restitution. He was also the focus of a protective order issued in Colorado in 2015. Once the shooting started, there was probably no way for congregants to escape, Wilson County Sheriff Jody Tackett Jr. said. The gunman, dressed in black tactical gear, fired an assault rifle as he walked down the center aisle during worship services. He turned around and continued shooting on his way out of the building, Tackett said. About 20 other people were wounded. 10 of them were still hospitalized Monday in critical condition. Investigators collected hundreds of shell casings from the scene, along with at least 15 empty magazines that held 30 rounds each. Kelly lived in New Braunfels, about 35 miles 56 kilometers north of the church, authorities said. Investigators were reviewing social media posts he made in the days before the attack, including one that appeared to show an AR-15 semi-automatic weapon. Less than 2 months ago, Kelly had started a job as an unarmed security guard at a nearby resort. He seemed like a nice guy and did not cause any problems, said Claudia Varjabedian, manager at the Summit Vacation Resort in New Braunfels. On Sunday, the attacker pulled into a gas station across from the church, about 30 miles (48.28 kilometers) southeast of San Antonio. He crossed the street and started firing the rifle at the church, then continued firing after entering the white wood frame building, Martin said. As he left, the shooter was confronted by an armed resident who had grabbed his own rifle and exchanged fire with Kelly. The armed man who confronted Kelly had help from another local resident, Johnny Langendorf, who said he was driving past the church as the shooting happened. The armed man asked to get in Langendorf's truck, and the pair followed as the gunman drove away. He jumped in my truck and said, "He just shot up the church. We need to go get to him." And I said, "Let's go," Langendorf said. The pursuit reached speeds up to 90,144 km per hour mph. The gunman eventually lost control of his vehicle and crashed. The armed man walked up to the vehicle with his gun drawn, and the attacker did not move. Police arrived about 5 minutes later, Langendorf said. The assailant was dead in his vehicle. He had 3 gunshot wounds, 2 from where the armed man hit him in the leg and the torso, and the third self-inflicted wound to the head, authorities said. There was no thinking about it. There was just doing. That was the key to all this. Act now. Ask questions later, Langendorf said. Church member Nick Ullug, 34, who was not at Sunday's service, told the app that his pregnant cousin and her in-laws were among those killed. He later told the Houston Chronicle that 3 of his cousin's children were also slain. 3 weapons were recovered. A Ruger AR-556 rifle was found at the church, and 2 handguns were found in the gunman's vehicle, according to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives. The church has posted videos of its Sunday services on a YouTube channel, and authorities said they were reviewing footage recorded inside the church. In a video of its October 8 service, a congregant pointed to the October 1 Las Vegas shooting a week earlier as evidence of the wicked nature of man. That shooting left 58 dead and more than 500 injured. The previous deadliest mass shooting in Texas had been a 1991 attack in Killeen, when a mentally disturbed man crashed his pickup truck through a restaurant window at lunchtime and started shooting people, killing 23 and injuring more than 20 others. Weber reported from New Braunfels. Associated Press writers John Moan in Sutherland Springs, Noman Merchant in Houston and Diana Heidgard in Dallas also contributed to this report. Copyright 2017 The Associated Press. All rights reserved. This material may not be published, broadcast, rewritten or redistributed.